here really to be of service to the world, and that's the element of what I do. Everything I do is because I just want to make the world a better place. Sometimes out of the darkest moments come, in a lot of times, the greatest ideas. I'm one of the 25,000 children who knows it firsthand about growing up in domestic violence and the effects that it can have in your later years. As a teenager, you can become quite alienated. You can feel like you're the only one who's going through it when really you're not. Self-blame and guilt was a huge part of it. I lived with a lot of guilt and blamed myself that I couldn't fix it. There was certainly a sense that I wanted to try and understand the why. Why do people go back? Why does this happen in our society? And you know, it doesn't just happen to women, it happens to men as well. So the deeper I dug, the more of a Pandora's box I opened. I really didn't know the mechanics of what was it. All I knew was that the Global Good Foundation was something that I needed to start, and I was saying at the top of my lungs, this is it, this is it, this is what I'm meant to be doing. So I started writing down. The Global Good Foundation helps in 3 areas: empowerment, opportunity and education. We do that with children aged 8 to 12, and we run a number of camps around Australia for these kids to help them understand that they're not alone in this process. The Minute of Noise was a global campaign that we did, and an educational awareness campaign, reached over 50,000 children in 4 different countries. So it was about making 1 minute of noise and allowing kids to be kids for just 1 minute and be a voice for the children that don't have a voice in domestic violence. The secret to my success has been understanding and taking accountability that the only person that's responsible for the way this life plays out is myself, and accepting the world in all its beauty and all its scars.
We draw on the experiences of any activity or event or project, and it contributes to the next one. So you don't suddenly have a great vision of how your life's going to unfold. In the 1970s, there was a great sense of excitement of going to Australia. The voyage took about 6 weeks. It was a long haul, but we enjoyed it. Yeah. Arriving in a new continent, you suddenly realise that you don't know anyone except the people you met on the ship, and suddenly we were just like a little island of people, totally responsible for ourselves. I was looking for a playgroup for my youngest, as the others had gone to school. The only one that was available was actually one in Subiaco. Over time, I became more and more involved in the administrative side of it, until eventually I did become the founding president. The playgroup movement started just at the right moment for a demand for some sort of educational experience for young children. It was a normalising activity because they could see how children of that age behaved and acted, and it gave them a kind of standard, really. Because of my interest in the development of children, I obviously was interested in their spiritual growth, so I began a PhD on faith development, and through that I was invited to have a look at the question of domestic violence in the church. The outcome of our interest was to set up a program to train clergy or church workers in understanding the issues about domestic violence, and so they would be more sensitive about counselling, more aware and more understanding. I feel very honoured to be interviewed like this. I'm very encouraged that the playgroup movement has sort of come to the fore again. That is just a joy to behold.
I've been given so many amazing opportunities because of my disability that I almost don't want to have never, I can't imagine not having it. I don't remember anything before I lost my sight. The small amount of sight that I did have has helped me to imagine colour and know where I am in the world. My hands and my eyes, I use them to see the world, to encounter anything. If someone asks me, do you want to see? It's almost like asking someone, do you want to be blind? It's a totally different concept. When I was a little kid, I used to run everywhere. Everyone was telling me to slow down. So when I lost my leg, it came home to me that I couldn't do that anymore. And so I struggled with that for quite some time. Going to school sports carnivals and watching everybody else running around and enjoying sport was really challenging. It was only when I discovered sailing that I think I got over it. To be able to sail and have that sense of speed and freedom is just the most amazing thing. My motto is go forth and be glorious. I never thought that I would be able to represent Australia in a sport, and to be able to fly the flag on my boat representing my country overseas, it's an honour. I am humbled that I've been nominated for this, and I just want to make sure that I can keep going and doing things to live up to that and make them proud.
If I can make one small change and help that one family to have a new life in this wonderful country, it's all worth it. I started my career as an economist in Treasury and moved through various policy roles, and inevitably, if you're ambitious, you get into management. After having done that for over 25 years, I decided that I'd like a career change. I went to study a law degree at 55, and I did this because it was a great turning point. It was going to enable me to be flexible in the way that I worked and give me an opportunity to have more engagement with community. I almost gravitated into assisting refugees with their cases, particularly for family reunion work. But the really rewarding work was the day-to-day development of submissions and applications and appeals on behalf of refugees. Some of the cases were incredibly compelling. There were people who had been in refugee camps for 9 years. They'd been separated from their families. They didn't even know that families were living in Australia. So to be able to bring them together and have a reunion was the most extraordinary and rewarding thing to be able to do. I've also had the privilege of being able to work with African women in Perth and a project with street kids in Dar es Salaam in Tanzania. I remember one girl who came up to speak to us, and she looked at us, her eyes pleading that we could do something to help her go to school. Her parents had died of AIDS, she had AIDS, she had nowhere to live. We gave her a scholarship that would enable her to stay at school a couple more years, provide her bus fares, help her get books, help her have a uniform. I feel very honoured to be acknowledged in the event today, and it is an amazing experience to be part of International Women's Day.